Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to today's class. Today's class is a Hatha 1 class. We'll eventually be on our feet and doing some things that I really like in terms of restoring my body. So I practice quite physically still, very dynamic, but then there's days that I just need more recovery work. So I'll add some of those things and I really benefit so much from them. And they're very simple. I always feel better from them, especially if I wake up and my back is not feeling so well. If I do a lot of back bending or weight training or running, the techniques that I'll show you later is for that aspect. So I'm having a couple classes throughout the week. I have my class on Zoom. If you haven't taken that class, you can register for that class, and then we've added a calendar so you could register for multiple classes throughout the month. So you can see the whole month of June as far as what classes we're teaching, and it's just easier for you and easier to see because I know with the days it's kind of hard to keep on schedule, and that's at jonwittyoga.com. So again, if you have any questions or you needed something different in terms of practice or injuries, message me, send me videos of your practice and I can help you more directly. And so in starting, we'll come up into a standing position. So when I stand up, I'm just gonna have my feet, just about the width of my hips, and I'm just gonna be moving my knees. So just a slight bend in the knees. So then in bending the knees, these are like ankle pulses. So the smallest motion of bending the knees is really the beginning of like a full squat. So when you bend your knees as you're doing it, doesn't have to be a full range of motion, but a partial bending of the knees can be the beginning of, like I said, a full squat or a full single leg squat. Like the most basic things are really what you're doing when you're advancing in terms of folding the legs. So just a few more. I'm just keeping my body erect, and then when I'm bending my knees, any moment I start to feel a tug or a negativity in the knee, I'm not gonna sit lower than that, right? But you could do anywhere from 10 to 20 on your own. Your back is straight. I'm just bending my ankles, dorsiflexion, and then a flexion of the knee, right? Then come back up to a straight leg position, then come up onto the toes, lift the heels off the floor. So as you're lifting the heels, erect. People that, in terms of balance, maybe that one hip is too far forward or one shoulder is too far forward or the head is too far forward, right? That contributes to why you may fall. So lower the heels and then just roll the feet out and roll the feet in. Roll them out, roll them back in, roll them back out, roll them back in. And then as you keep rolling the feet in and out, many bones of the feet, the bones will start to move more freely, especially if you have tighter tissues in terms of the feet. So then come back, and then what you're gonna do is lift up the front of your feet. So I'm just lifting up the front. So as people get, as we age, it gets more difficult to lift up the front of the foot. So if you start to see yourself dragging your feet or tripping, some of it has to do with the strength of the feet, the peroneals, being able to flex the feet. And then just pulse the heel. So I'm lifting the heel individually, simple stuff, really simple stuff. And then if you wanted to add on to that, I'm gonna bend the knees. So we have the ankle pulse, and then the knees are bent. And then I'm gonna lift the heels individually, just like running or walking, right? But it's very basic. And by doing it in this bent knee position, I know it looks strange, but you'll start to see that your legs will get stronger. Okay, I'll see you at the end of the class. And then you can come back up to standing. So when you come up to standing, now we're gonna have the hands on the knees, and you're gonna circle the knees in a circular motion. I've said this before, your knees will deviate when you walk, when you run. If you practice these, it won't be so shocking and it won't hurt the knee. Good training for any type of sport. So just a small circle, could be big, right? Mine might look bigger than yours in terms of the range. And then come back up to standing, and then when you come back up to standing, just shake out the right arm. Just shake it out. Shake the right hand, the wrist, then shake out the left hand. See which arm may not shake as well, or it might not move as well. And then we're gonna do some things for the arm. So my left foot is forward, and I'm just swinging the arm, just a bit of a motion. Not a full circle initially, because some of you might not be able to circle the arm full overhead. So this could be the motion. And you could add a little bit of weight, something really small, a pound or two, and that could be really great for the shoulder. So I'm gonna swing it back in place and then forward. Right, and then I'm gonna swing it back in space, just like a back swing or back stroke. And then I'm gonna bring it back and just into a subtle swing. Now I'm gonna turn, and now I'm gonna swing the left arm. My right hand arm is on my rib cage, just so that it doesn't get in the way. And just, again, maybe you need a minimal range of motion rather than a full range of motion. And over time you'll be able to increase the range. So I'm gonna circle it forward. And just think of like a bigger motion. And let's say you might have a tear or some damage to the cartilage of the shoulder, then you'd be a little bit more careful in moving the arm. Then circle it back in space. And then over time, right, you'll see how your back and your neck will move better. And then you can come back to center. So I'm just gonna swing the arms both at the same time. And then I'm gonna make a big circular motion with both arms. And I know it looks strange, and I say this sometimes in my classes, it's even more strange if the arms don't move like this. So if you start to see yourself walking not as well as you could, this is why I'm doing these things. So just come back into the middle, and then you're just gonna let the hand shake out again. Now this is what I had said about recovery is, in Qigong, it's just shaking. And I know it'll look really strange, and the beauty is that you're in the comfort of your home, no one's watching. You do it at a gym, you might catch someone videotaping you or something like that. So it's good to do again in the comfort of your home. So just a slight bend in the knees, just like we did before. And you're keeping the weight in the heels of the feet. And just start out really slow, but as you get into this, you'll start to be able to keep more weight in the heels. And I know if you've never done this before, you're like, what am I doing? But after it's pretty amazing what you'll feel throughout the body in terms of circulation. Specifically for me, I feel it more in my arms. So you don't have to move the head, but it's really great for the neck and the shoulders. So my head is off to the side, and I'm bending the knees, I'm letting my arms be loose, and I'm just bouncing into the heels. Just a little bit of a bounce, right? And then I'm gonna bring the head to center, and then to the right, and then, maybe it's better to see a profile. And then as you get more comfortable with this, it could be a stronger bounce, right? Really good training for the legs. Like I said, if you don't have a full range of motion in the knees, you can build up really good strength with like straight or minimal bending of the knees. So just bring the head back to center and close the eyes if you can, and just let yourself bounce. And it's been a very stressful week, so this is really, really good for stress release. Think of what it is that's stressing you before and after you do something like this. It's a completely different, I'm in a completely different, better state of being. And then just come back into a more subtle shake or bounce, if you will. And then what you're gonna do is slow it down even more where you're not, because the feet can lift up a little bit off the floor, right? And then just come back to standing and see how the weight sits in the feet. If it's too much in the toes, it really affects your neck and your upper back. And then if you're leaning forward, it's really too much pressure in the lower back. So take 2 deep breaths, whether your eyes are opened or closed, right? And then what we'll do is we'll come to the top of the mat. So you can have your blocks forward, right? We'll inhale, we'll take the arms overhead and then fold forward into a forward fold. So when you fold forward into a forward bend, I'll step my left foot back into a lunge. And with my left foot back into a lunge, I'm just going to be moving the weight side to side a little bit. And again, those of you that can't come as far forward, you could be up on a chair, right? Make the stance shorter if it's really difficult for you. And those of you that are getting good practice in and you're improving, make the stance longer. Take the right arm up to the ceiling so the right arm is high and the left hand is low. So open through the shoulders, open and close the right hand. Right, to get stronger through the hand, through the wrist, through the fingers. Then bring the right hand down and step the left foot forward. So both feet are forward. Step the right foot back into a lunge, and with the right foot back, move the weight around. So when I'm moving into my right hand, I'm adjusting more of my right hip in extension. When I move more weight into my left foot, I'm stretching out more of the rotators of the hip and more of a hip flexion, right? A deeper fold in the hip. Take the left arm up to the ceiling so the left arm is high, and then open and close the left hand and push strong through the fingertips of the bottom hand, and you won't feel a negativity in the hand or the wrist. If the weight just sits in the hand, most likely eventually it's going to not feel so good. So turn towards the top arm and then bring the left hand down and then step the right foot forward. So both feet are forward and you're in a forward fold. I'm going to grab my elbows, I'm going to bend my knees, I'm going to push my knees apart. You don't have to squat as low as I am, you could be at 90 degrees, extending from the hips up into the shoulders, up into the elbows, and then fold all the way forward into a forward fold. And step the left foot back, bring the left heel into the floor, and come up into a warrior one on the right side. Could be a lunge as well, so you prefer a lunge. Have the heel up. Say you like the heel down, it gives you a better effect. Have the heel down. So push through the feet and turn the body to the right. And with this, you're trying to generate more strength through the front of the body. And that's really a big part of what's stretching you out. And then have the right leg straight for a couple breaths. You could hook the thumbs at the very top. I'm turning my pelvis to the right. I'm going to go back to bending the right knee and extending the arms up, overhead. So take a couple deep breaths here. And then bring the hands down either side of the right foot and step the left foot all the way forward. So the left foot is forward, you're in a forward fold. Step the right foot back, have the right heel down, and come up into an overhead position. Push through the feet, drop down through the tail, lift up through the pubic bone. Again, you could be in a thumb lock or squeezing the hands together, but generate more strength in your feet and your legs. And think of lifting through the pubic bone. As you lift up through the pubic bone, you'll have better positioning of the upper body. You could have the left leg straight, couple breaths, turning the pelvis to the left. Kind of like with the ankle pulses that we did earlier. You could be pulsing. It's not really taught in yoga, unless it's more of like a fitness-based yoga, but it's good for strengthening the legs. Bring the hands down either side of the left foot and step the right foot forward. So both feet are forward, you're in a forward fold. So come down onto your hands and your knees, and from a hand and knee position, push through the hands and round the spine into a cat stretch. Look forward and look up. Exhale, round your back, push through your hands, round your spine, and then come back into the middle. Take the hands to the left and do the same thing. Round the spine into a cat stretch. Look forward, look up, back bend. Exhale, round your back. Back bend again, lift the chin, lift the chest. And exhale, round the spine. Take the hands to the right side. I'm more at a 45-degree angle. You can exhale, you can round your back. Back bend, lift the chin, lift the chest. Exhale, round the spine, round your back. and then come back to the middle. So with my hands underneath my shoulders and me gripping the floor, I'm going to take my left leg out to the left. So just like as I'm taking it out, I'm gonna use more of the strength of the outside of my left hip. I'm gonna lift the leg higher if I can. I'm gonna bring it down for a moment, just let it relax. And then I'm gonna bring the knee towards the elbow, and then more of a circular motion. And something like with this, I think it's good to work a little bit harder in something like this because it'll help strengthen the hip and help you with your flexibility. So bring your left leg down, and then take your right leg out to the right, and then especially if you're struggling with your lower back, get your hips stronger. Will very much help you. My right leg is lifting, I'm pushing through my hands, and then I'm going to bring the right leg down, and then this time I'm going to bring the knee to the elbow, and then make a bigger circular motion. So it's a little bit more difficult this way. Keep lifting it if you can. And then bring the right knee down and have the hands just underneath the shoulders. So let the chest drop down in between the arms and then push through the hands. And that's what you need for push-ups, planks, scapula strength, right? Lift the knees up off the floor for plank, reach back through the heels of the feet. Push through the hands, round through the shoulders. You can move the weight around, especially if you want to stretch the wrists more. Right? And then go up into a down dog, pull all the way back up into a down dog. As you pull back up into a down dog, you can reach down through the heels of the feet. Right? Come forward into a plank, and then in a plank, slowly lower all the way to the floor, and then come up onto your elbows. So come up onto your elbows, move your chest forward towards your arms, push down through the right elbow. Now you could just stay here, right? I'm going to take my left arm off the floor like I'm shaking hands with someone, but then I'm going to move the arm out, right? Once I get to the line of my shoulder, I'm going to turn my thumb down and take my arm back. I'm going to bring it forward, keeping the chest up, and then I'm going to bring the right elbow down. I'm going to take the right arm forward in space. I'm going to take it out to the right, and then when it's out to the right, when you get to that point, the line of the shoulder, you'll bring the thumb down and take it back. Right? Then I'm going to turn the thumb up. I'm going to bring it forward. I'm going to keep myself up. Now if you can, take your feet over your knees. Look high over the left shoulder. Look high over the right. Look forward in space. Bring yourself down. Have your hands underneath your shoulders. Come up into a low cobra or something higher. I'm going to come up for a couple breaths, and then I'll come down. So it's good to come up for a little bit of time, give you an experience of going more in depth. You could bring yourself forward and down, and then curl up into a low cobra or a high cobra, and then come back down. And then when you come back down, have the hands just underneath the shoulders if you can. Certainly come up to all fours, but come up into a plank if you can. Lift yourself up into plank, and then go back up into a down dog. Pull back through the thighs. Think I'm pulling your arms forward in space, and then come down on the knees. And when you come down on the knees, keep the toes tucked and sit back towards the feet if you can. Sit back. Really good for the toes. High arch people, this is really great for. You can sit back onto the heels, maybe. And if you can't, right, this is still good. So if I couldn't sit back like this, I'd sit back. When I was ready, I'd come down. And the problem with doing it in like a public place or like a group class is that some people will hold it longer than they really should, you know? Some people, they look like they're okay, but they're really not, you know? You want to be really honest with yourself in terms of practice. So you can come down with the hands, untuck the toes, and then sit back on the feet if you can. Now, of course, put a block underneath you if you need to. It just, I like doing it both ways, because if if you always do it the same way, you might be missing out on another form of it, right? So come back up onto your hands and your knees. Have the hands just underneath the shoulders. Lift the knees up off the floor. Push through the hands, round through the shoulders, round through the back, and then go back up into a down dog. Go all the way back up into a down dog. If you want it, you can swing forward and through into an up dog. So you can move yourself forward and through. Big lift in the chest, the skull. Go back up into a down dog. One more time if you'd like. Come forward, come through. You can lift. Broad shoulders, broad upper back. And then push back into a down dog. And then walk the feet forward to the middle of your mat. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Take your hands to the left side if you can. Take your hands to the right. Bring your hands back into the middle. Now you could roll up or come up with a flat back. So bring yourself up to standing as you come up. Take the arms overhead, hook the thumbs, bend the knees, drop through the tail, lift through the pubic bone. Take one more breath here. See what your knees do. You can always look down. Mirrors are great. You know, if you got a mirror around, look at your mirror, look at yourself. It's a very good way to help you in correcting yourself. And then have the legs straight, bring the arms down. And then what you'll do is you'll take your right leg up off the floor. Of course, use a chair. So take it up, use your hand as much as you need to. So if you lack flexibility, use your hand. If you lack strength, right, rely less and less on the hand. And you gotta kind of know what you need more. Take it out to the side. Think of lifting the knee towards the shoulder. So I'm using my hand a little bit, but not as, maybe not as much as you could see if you were looking. Bring the leg forward, bring the leg down, take the left leg up. The left leg up. It's okay to have the bottom foot crooked, but as your balance improves, have it straight if you can. Take it out to the side a little bit or into the chest. Again, find an angle that you're weak in, and that'll help you the most. So the knee is lifting up towards the left shoulder. Okay? Then you can bring it forward, and you can bring it down, and then take the feet out wide. Big space between the feet. With the feet out wide, you can turn the left foot out to the left, take the arms out nice and wide, and then bend the left knee. And then with those hip circles, and what we just did, you start to see that this becomes a bigger space. Like your feet will be closer to the ends of your mat. Not that that's important, it's just it will develop. So bring the left arm onto the left knee or reach for the floor with a block, right? And then just let the arm drag down and bring it forward overhead in an extended position. Stay static, right? Let the arm drop, let it hang, let it relax, and then bring it forward one more time. So think I'm pulling back on your back leg, whichever leg is behind you, and you'll get more of a stretch through the abdomen into the QL. Then take the right arm up to the ceiling and bring yourself back up into a warrior two. And then just come up just a little bit of the ways. Don't sit as much into it. It just adds a different element of strength into the legs. When I'm here, I'm using more of my flexibility. When I'm here, I have to rely more on the strength of the front leg. Have the left leg straight, turn the left foot in, turn the right foot to the right, have the arms wide, bend the right knee, and widen out through the thighs. Some people lack strength in the adductors. You could squeeze in, right? You don't have to, you don't have to push out. That's like not the only way that you have to do it. Bring the right forearm on the right thigh and take the left arm, like bring the pinky forward and down, bring it forward overhead. So really extend through the arm. It's great to hold onto a wall or to push into a wall or lean up against a wall, right? Bring the left arm down, let it hang, right? And then bring it forward. Extend the arm forward, overhead. One more time, I'll let that hang, let it drop, and then bring it forward overhead. And again, you could always go lower if you want more leverage. get lower. Right hand could be on the inside of the foot. And bring yourself back up into a warrior two. And then have the right leg straight. Turn the right foot in. And just have the feet, actually bring them in a little bit closer if you have a wide stance. Right? Fold forward into a forward fold. As you fold forward into a forward bend, just walk over to the left leg. Stay forward over the left leg. Walk into the middle. Walk to the right. Right. Bring it back into the middle. Now if you it's easy for you to take it up. You could take the feet up wider. I'm going to reach for the left ankle with the right hand. I'm going to turn through the upper body. I'm going to take the left arm up to the ceiling. I'm going to rotate my left shoulder back. And then I'm going to rotate it in. I'm going to rotate it back. And then I'm just going to open the hand. Bring the left hand down, walk over to the right leg, grab the right ankle with the left hand, take the right arm up, make your hand into a fist or open hand position, and then turn the eye of the elbow toward your face. And then turn it in, and then the back of the elbow is facing you, right? Then rotate it out, and just think that your left shoulder's touching the floor. Think your right shoulder's touching the ceiling. And then you can open the hand, and then bring the right hand down. Now take your feet out a little wider if you can. So wide stance, nice and wide. And then with a wider stance, even though we're using weight to manipulate the inner thighs, use strength. So think that your feet are lifting up off the floor, and you start to get stronger in the hips. You'll get more range. Shouldn't hurt your knees or your hips at all, and if it does, the stance is just too wide. Bring the feet in closer. So toe heel the feet in. As you toe heel the feet in a little bit closer, you can bring your hands in your hips. You can bring yourself back up. You can step your feet back together, just a neutral stance. Now when you stand again, see how the weight sits in the feet, and maybe you're sitting a lot, during these quarantine days, right? See how you sit in your chair, and correct that, and that'll make a big difference. Whatever the bulk is that you do during the day, myself included, we can all refine it, right? Take the feet out wider than the shoulders, turn the left foot in, turn the right foot out, take the arms out wide, reach out to the right, grab the right shin, and move forward in space. Move the upper body forward. I really like triangle because I know that some people can't really bend their knees all that much. Like I said, you can get really stronger through your legs with straight leg positions. So take the left arm up, and then when you take it up, you could bring it forward, overhead. So I'm looking to the hand, I'm pushing through the feet. Just adds a different stretch. Not that I don't believe in this. This is a great angle to have, but whatever angle you practice the most is, it gets good. It looks good. It gets easier. It gets more efficient. And then at some point, it's not benefiting you as much. Not that it's not benefiting you, it's just not benefiting you as much. You can take the left arm up, and you can bring yourself back up. You can turn the right foot in, turn the left foot out. You can take the arms out wide. You can reach out to the left. You can grab the left shin. You can take the right arm up. So I really believe in diversity in forms of training, right? So, if you said, hey, I do Zumba or whatever it is that you do, that's good. But then you'd also want to add on to that, whether it be yoga or weight training. There's so many good forms of training. You could take the right arm forward overhead. As you take it forward, think I'm pulling back through your pelvis. You're getting more weight in the back hip. And then bring yourself the right arm up and widen the shoulders, widen your back. And then bring yourself back up. Then you bring yourself back up. You can turn your left foot in, and you can step your feet back together. So just taking the left foot forward again. So I'm going to widen the stance. Just going to go back to swinging the arm a little bit. Again, I'm using this because I work with people privately, and it takes a long time for them to develop their shoulders if I just use static positions. But when I start swinging your arms or using TheraBands, it's remarkable how much more they can do in their arms. So if you get a long TheraBand, it's a really great way to help rehabilitate the shoulders. So swing it back in space, and then swing it forward. And then you can bring it down, and then bring the left arm forward. So my right foot is forward, my left arm is swinging, my right arm is on my rib cage. Just again, a partial might be better, right? I'm gonna swing it back in space. Big, big circular motion. And then I'm gonna swing it forward. And again, if you have really tight shoulders, you're gonna be getting really hot from something like this. And then just let it come back. Now this is a little bit trickier, but think it's more like a figure eight. So if I swing it forward, if I swing it back in space, like if I'm bringing it down, if I'm using my right arm, I want to have my right foot forward. And then I'm going to just bring it down just to see that. And then when I bring it around, I'm going to bring it back and then forward. So you can kind of see that it is a figure eight motion. And again, if you're like, wow, my shoulder's not having this, just move it some of the way, and that'll be way better for you. And then you can bring it down. Now, if the left foot is forward, my left arm is what I'm swinging. So you swing it across the body and up, and then around, and then back, and then forward and back. And then as you're moving it through space, it doesn't have to be aggressive, right? It just has to be moving with some control, and it is good to relax it too. So you got to find the balance with that. And then you can bring the arm back down. You can shake out the arms. So come to the top of the mat again. Take the arms overhead, fold forward into a forward fold, and step the left foot back into a lunge. So the left foot is back. Now if you can, if your hands are flat, try to get your armpit and your knee together. Right armpit, right knee. And then bring the left knee down the floor. And just kind of move the weight around. I'm on the top of my kneecap. Does not hurt my knee at all. If I'm below the kneecap, if that's where the pressure is, it hurts. So you really want to be more longer in stance. If I'm at 90, like here, all the pressure's in my back knee. You want your hips to be forward. Take your hands over to the left side and look high over the left shoulder. So lift the head, lift the chest. Right, take the hands back into the middle, and then I'm going to take the back foot up off the floor. I can lift it up, and then I can lower it down. I can lift the leg. Right, I can pull it in and I can lower it down. Now this could be the exercise. Now if I can, I'm going to lift the foot up off the floor, and I'm going to reach back with my right hand for my left foot. Now I start the class predominantly in Virasana. That's the same position. So if you couldn't be in this, you could put 2 blocks between your feet and sit on them. And then keep trying to make the blocks lower, and you'll eventually be able to do something like this. I did the swinging of the arm so that you can grab the foot. So you can bring the right arm down, and then just get lower if you can. Get the elbows down. So now this is protraction of the shoulders. So your scapula is moving out wider, and you could get into the elbow. Okay, I'm going to bring my right shoulder into my right knee and take my left arm up to the ceiling. So there's actually more leverage than the full pose doing this. That's why I like this so much. Broad shoulders, broad upper back. Right hand could be behind the head. Take the left arm up if you did, or if you're done. Bring that hand down. Now sit the hips back in space and point through the foot and flex the foot and point it. Right? Come back into a lunge Take the back knee up off the floor and move the left foot in a bit closer and then have the right leg straight. Now I'm going to do this as a series. I'm going to take my hands way forward past the foot if I can. And then as I take the hands more forward, as it gets easier, I'm going to bring them more forward. Stay with something like this if you want. Take the hands outside the right ankle and think that the leg's pulling up into the face. So I'm lifting from my hip flexor. And I'm going to go back to bending the right knee, right, just for a couple breaths. I can look forward, I can look up, and then step the left foot forward. So at the left foot forward, just take the hands to the left, take them back into the middle, step the right foot back into a lunge, try to connect the armpit and the knee together. Right, just a nice extension of the spine. You're up on blocks, very good for the front of your body, very good for your lower back. Right, take your left arm up to the ceiling just for a couple breaths. Pull back through the hips. Bring the left hand down, bring the right knee down, and then walk the hands over to the right hip and look high over the right shoulder. So lift the head, lift the chest. Now let's say your head's kind of been in the same position for a while. Bring the head down, let it relax, and then take the head up. And you should see that it's a little easier each time you add the dropping of the head. Take the hands to the inside of the foot and lift the back foot up off the floor. Pull it up into your hips and then bring it down. Take it up, pull it in, bring it back down. Take it up, keep it up like this, or reach back with your left hand for your right foot. It's good to pull the foot to you. It's good to kick away. Both are good. Get closer to the left knee if you want to adjust the upper body more. It's not bad to lean back, right? When I lean back, it's more for my right hip. So that might be something that you need more of. If I want to adjust the spine, I go towards the leg with the upper body. Then you can release the foot, then bring the hands down. Sit back with the hips, point the foot, flex the foot. I say this from time to time. It's good to, not that you shouldn't use your hands, but if I'm not using my hands, I have to use more of the strength of my back and more of the reality of how much flexibility I have in my leg. So come back into a lunge. Take the back knee up off the floor. You could look forward in space. You could look up. You could drop the hips lower. I'd step the left foot forward or right foot forward, so both feet are forward. You're in a forward fold. Take a couple deep breaths here. Right. Come down on your hands and your knees, and we'll do a bit of a virasana, just because that last pose is what I had mentioned. So I'm going to sit on one block, second level of the block, and for you, it's good to do this in front of a mirror and you can see what your shoulders do and what your head does. That's good. It's really good to take a photo of yourself from the side. So I have people that I work with, and this is their posture. They think that, not this, if habitually that's what they feel is natural for them. And then I have people that have a collapsed chest too, right? So again, if you look at yourself, I know it's kind of difficult sometimes for people. You can learn so much, almost even more than some of the yoga, like a yoga text or a book. Not that you shouldn't read those. Those are obviously good. I'm going to interlace my fingers and push the hands forward. I'm going to round my back and then take the arms up some of the way or all the way up. I'm going to bring the hands forward and round the upper back. Okay, now I'm going to bring my arms up. Push through the toes, squeeze in with the legs. One more time, I'm going to round the spine, round your back. And lift the arms. And it could be thumb lock, right? Or interlace the fingers. Doesn't have to be an interlace. That's really good for internal rotation. Let's do one more. You can round your back. And then take the arms up. Right? And bring the arms forward, bring them down. See if you can sit a little bit lower on the block. And say it's like, nah, not happening. And if you're like, wow, I'm so ready to come out of this, you could either bring your legs just straight forward and sit. You can come into a standing forward bend. There's no rules, and when there are rules, that's when people get hurt. You know, some of the time, not always, but like it's like so rigid that you have to keep to a sequence. Sometimes people get hurt from that, right? So I'm gonna take the block out. I'm gonna move a little bit lower. I'm gonna sit down in between my feet if I can. All right, take 3 deep breaths. I like to pull the skin back on the knees. And then bring yourself back up. And then when you come up, you're gonna come into a cross-legged position. So come, sit cross-legged in Sukhasana. So sit cross-legged. Do a little bit of side bending, then we're gonna go back to back bending, all right? So we'll cross the ankles, we'll cross the shins. Take the left hand to the left, reach the right hand to the right. So lean out to the side. Now, if you're a person that's close to getting down with the elbow, you can get down, but you can also come up, right? So not that you should get down or anything like that, but at some point it becomes more available. Take the right hand behind the head, if that's good for you, and lean back in space. So go up, side bending. Take the right arm out to the right, bring yourself back up. Recross the legs. As you recross the legs, take the right hand to the right side, reach the left hand to the left, lean forward, be in the middle, or lean back. You get down to the right elbow if that's good for you. Know that you could come up and you could do it for repetitions. You know, not that a number is good because it kind of keeps you doing it, right? That's the most important thing that I think of as a number. You can take the left hand behind the head, but what type of quality you do within that number is really what's important. Like you could get like those ankle pulses that we did in the very beginning class. Like if you do 5 conscious ankle flexions, you know, or 10, and you're really, really mindful of it, that's great practice. And then it can lead to like a bigger range, right? Take the left arm out to the left, bring yourself back up. So continue to sit more. Let's say extending is not so good for you. You can keep doing the side bends, right? But I'm gonna come into a plank on my elbows, on my forearms. As you come onto your elbows and your forearms, just lift the knees up off the floor, lift through the pubic bone, make yourself smaller, make yourself stronger, right? And then you could come down with the hips. And I know this is a good position for many, many people, so you could stay here. I do a little bit of a side plank because the side planks will help with, one, how you hold your weight in space, but it'll help with, everybody has a little bit of scoliosis. It's good for that. So roll onto your left hip and just be in the side bend. Now I could just let myself kind of collapse down, which is really, really great for your left side, right? You could stay like that, right? But you could push through your feet and lift your hips up off the floor. Now if I took my right foot more forward, it's easier. So if you need that, definitely do it that way. Take the right arm up, push through the left arm, extend through the right, then bring the hips down, and then roll onto your right side. And then as you roll on your right side, push through the right forearm. Arm could be on an angle that can help with your balance. You know, if it's a straight line, it's more difficult to balance. So it could be in like a, more like a 90-degree angle. So lift the hips. Say you're like, I can't come up. Have the left foot some of the way forward, and then take the arm up. But what you really want to feel is the musculature around the ribs and the shoulder, and that'll make it safe, right? So the left arm is up. Again, if you want the feet more back, you can do it that way. And then just bring the hips down and let that side kind of collapse. Right, then come back onto your belly, take your arms down beside you, and lift your chest up off the floor. Reach back through the feet, elevate the chest, broaden your shoulders, broaden your back. Take a couple deep breaths, and then bring yourself down. And then when you come back down, have the elbows back underneath the shoulders. If you liked what I did earlier with the arms, take the left arm out to the left. So there's stretching of the shoulder like various ways. This is, thumb is down when it's back. Bring it forward. Keep lifting it in space. Bring the arm down. Bring the right arm forward like you're shaking hands. Take the right arm out to the right. Just bring it in a 90-degree angle because running out of space. Then you can reach it back. Thumb could be down or up. Down is definitely going to be easier. Then rotate it forward. And then bring it down. And then just come down with your forehead into your hands. Just rest. And let's say you need a little shake of your hips. You can shake a little bit. And I know it's really like classic to counter with a forward bend, but if you have a history of herniation, it's better not to. Don't do forward bending. Do twisting as opposed to forward bending. But I'm going to go back to a back bend. So come up onto your hands and your knees. And if I can't do camel, sit on your feet or sit on a block. And you don't have to do camel, but I think camel's a very, in terms of range, that's why I teach it so much, is it's way easier to develop a better back bend with a camel than it is with a cobra. Not that cobra's bad, right? So come up, and then when you come up onto the knees, have the toes tucked, turn through the chest, look to the foot. It's good to touch, it's good to grab. You don't have to, right? Then bring yourself back to the center. We're just gonna, rather than go side to side, we're just gonna do the sides individually. So turn to the left, right? And eventually this could be from standing, right? And if you had support or someone spotting you, you could definitely do that. You can bring yourself back up. You can turn to the right. You can look to the foot. And, again, you don't have to hold the foot. You can bring yourself back up. You can turn to the right, open through the shoulders, and bring yourself back up. Now sit, if you can, keep the toes tucked, sit back on the feet. So sit upright. Then untuck the toes and sit on the feet. And I've said this before, put a stick behind your knees. Put a stick in line with your calf muscles. And it hurts, but it'll definitely help you get a full knee flexion. Bring yourself up, and when you come up, you can turn to the left. I'm going to reach for the left foot if it's available. Think more up than anything. And then you'll be able to, I've said this before, it's less pressure in the lower back doing this. And what you're manipulating is the spine in rotation. And that's what you're doing in triangle, twisted triangles. Bring yourself up. You can turn to the right. You can reach for the right foot. Go up. Glutes are strong. Think your butt is engaged. Lift through the upper body. Lift through the spine. Great rotation. Bring yourself up. And then you can sit back. And then when you sit back, just sit for a few breaths. Sit nice and tall, nice and upright. And there's growing pains, right? But you don't want something like chronically negative. So that's why you gotta taper back sometimes with practice, no matter what the practice is. Then sit down, and when you sit down, have your right foot outside your left hip. And step your left foot over your right knee. And reach your right arm across your left leg. And then as you pull in, exposing more of the hip. All right, we'll do some twisting. But this is, kind of in conjunction with what we just did in terms of the camel. And then you could stay low, right? So you're like, oh, my hip is so tight. I would just stay like that, right? But as I come up, then I could reach my left hand back behind me. So I really like this technique. I've been using it a lot in these classes, is having the block behind me, and that could support a better lift, right? If it's behind me, right? But if I move it further and further away, it's adding more dimension between the shoulders. And there's some more, I guess, progressive ways to do this. So this is more of on the basic way of doing it, but it's still very good. I mean, you can certainly use. And then you could turn forward and you can release the arm. And then when you release the arm, you're gonna have your right foot underneath, and then your left leg is gonna be over top, right? Actually, right is over left. So with right over left, I'm gonna take my left arm around my right shin, and then not that you have to get really low with the shoulder, but that'll add more emphasis on the hip. So, it's good to twist like we will, and maybe that's what you're already doing, but just to get more into the hip, and like I said before, this will help with doing pigeon, double pigeon, cow face pose, those classic type of, Jana Shirshasana, half lotus. You really need these muscles to be malleable so that you can twist more and manipulate the hip. If your hip isn't really functioning as it should in yoga, like classic yoga, it's really the knee that suffers. So bring yourself back up, and then when you come back up, you can have the right hand behind you, and then I'm trying to connect my left armpit to my right knee, right? And then I could use that block to lift myself up. I could move it further away from me, right? And what's important is your breathing. I mean, you want good looking poses, of course, right? I mean, that's some of it, but the breath is, especially if you have a very stressful job, right? Or you're under a lot of stress, right? Focus more on your breathing and you'll be in a much better place from it. So you can look over the right shoulder, elevate yourself up. Take 2 more breaths here. And then you can turn forward and you can release the arm and the leg. So have a block with you. I'm going to lie you back on your back. I'm going to do some bridge work, and then I'll just do some Supta Padangusthasana and then a relaxation. So say you're like, I'm so ready just to relax, just do that, right? I really love fish pose. I'm not teaching it today. It's something you could be in as well. All right, so once you lie back on your back, have your knees bent, have your hands over your elbows, lift through the hips, lift through the pelvis, ground down through the shoulders. It's good to be up on the toes as well. Right, but again, try to lift, not so, I just said lift your hips, right? Of course the hips are lifting, but don't put all your focus in your hips. Put more of your focus in your trunk, your upper body, and your spine. It's more of a habitual thing that I do, but you do need your hips to lift, but you really want the lift to be throughout the spine, specifically the lower back. And then bring the hips down, just take a couple breaths, just rest. Lift your hips back up. Right, couple breaths. Right, and then you could bring the block underneath you. Lowest level is so good, but still, again, think tailbones down, a little bit of lift in the lower back. You can have the left leg forward and the right leg bent. And just see the sensations by doing the sides individually, because we're all a little bit imbalanced, and you can learn a lot from that. You can have the left leg bent and the right leg straight. Say you love your legs forward, just straight forward. Every once in a while, mix it up, because it's just good, because you'll learn more about yourself and what you actually need. Bend the knees, lift the hips, place put the block on a lower level. You can straighten the left leg out. You can have the left leg bent, the right leg forward. You can bend both knees. Lift the heels to take the hips higher if you want it on a higher level. And let's say you're interested in taking your hips all the way up. You just got to be careful with your neck. So if you got a lot of pressure in your neck, put a blanket underneath your shoulders. So your shoulders are supported, but your neck is more free.
And that's especially for like shoulder stand and plow. At some point I'll teach that, but yeah, that's a very specific pose, and I think you can get away without doing it. You know, it was a very popular pose for a very long time, and it still is, but you don't necessarily have to use it. Again, one leg could be straight, one leg could be bent. Many layers. So what's interesting now, 2 weeks from now, 3 years from now, right, it'll be different. You could bend the knees, and then say you haven't gone as high as you've gone today, you may want to go to a lower level and just kind of let things settle so that it's not just so like, you know, kind of done. And then take the block out, and then you could pull the right leg back in space and take the right leg up. And then when you take the right leg up, I'm going to hold the big toe or use your strap, and then take the right leg out to the right. So I'm adjusting the back a little differently than just up and forward. Like I was saying before, if you have chronic back pain, it can be good, but I wouldn't mix it in with back bending. I'd separate it. You could take the right leg up, you could bend the right knee, and you could take it down. You can take the left leg back in space, hold, you know, when the knee is bent, anybody can grab the foot for the most part. It's getting the leg to be straight, which is difficult. And then when you get the leg straight, you can take it out to the left. It doesn't have to be all the way out, you know, take it out as far as you need it to be. Have weight in your right side. Deep breathing. And then you can take it back up, and then you can bring it down, and then you can rest in any position. You can have your knees bent, you can have your legs straight. Just for a couple minutes, we'll rest. So have your hands on you or beside you. If it's very difficult for you to close your eyes, dim your gaze, that'll help. And maybe being on your back isn't really the best position for you, so know that some people really thrive lying on the belly and then putting like a small blanket underneath the abdomen. That can be really helpful. If you're really tight in your hips, you know, you need to rest. You could rest, but you could also practice sitting more, like sitting cross-legged, sitting in Baddha Konasana. Those are great positions. So if you have more time, definitely lie on your back more. But if you're ready, bring awareness back into your hands and your feet. You can wiggle your fingers, your toes. You can bring yourself together. You can roll yourself up. You can sit nice and tall, holding yourself very well. And when you're sitting, you know, I hope the practice really served you well. I hope you're all in good practice. You feel amazing. That's what my intent is to get you feeling as well as you can. So like the videos on YouTube, share them with your friends, your family. It helps support me and my family and our cause. And by donating, it really helps me teach people for free. So I really appreciate and love the support. So have a beautiful weekend if I don't see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock on Zoom. Namaste.